In this lesson, we will solve rate and ratio problems using multiple representations. We're going to look at the going on the hike activity or worksheet, and then also ratios, rates, unit rates, oh my. So this was actually the second day, and we had already talked about the cube strategy, which was our way of annotating our text as we read sort of those passages within word problems. So the cube strategy stands for, over here in the corner, we have it C. We're gonna circle the numbers. U, underline the question. B, box the key words or phrases. E, eliminate extra information and evaluate the problem. And C, or S rather, solve the problem. So the evaluate the problem and solve the problem sort of sound like the same thing. I think I'm going to use this evaluate the problem as try to figure out what strategy we could use to solve the problem, and then S being to actually figure out our answer. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to use the cube strategy for this text here. So the first thing on cubes is that you would read it silently to yourself to try to make sense of it. But being that we're doing this by video, I'm going to read it aloud. It says, a group of 6 hikers are preparing for a 1-week trip. All of the group supplies will be carried by the hikers in backpacks. The leader decides that each hiker in the group can only carry a backpack that is a certain fraction of their body weight. That means that the heaviest hiker would carry the heaviest load. The table below, which is on the next page, shows the weight of each hiker and the weight of the backpack. So now let's go through the text and circle, and I'm going to change my color, it's already red. Circle all the numbers in this passage. So, and I like to circle the number along with the unit it goes with. So it's 6 hikers. 1-week trip. So I'll just circle the 1 and the week. And let's see, is there any other thing that are numbers? Nope. So I'm going to just check it off. We did that. Now I am going to, do I have purple? I don't have purple. So I have blue. We're going to now underline the question. So in this situation, I don't see a question mark. And we talked about in class, what does it mean when there's no question mark within the text? So what do we need to do? Well, we're going to use this table somehow. So we're going to try to figure out, shows the weight of each hiker and the weight of the backpack. And so if I were to go forward, I know that I would have to use that information to complete this table, right? I would have to use the weight of the hiker, or determine the weight of the hiker and determine the weight of the backpack. So I'm just going to say determine, because it's not here in the text itself, the weights of hiker and backpack, or what's missing, the missing information, right? All right, so now I'm just going to write this in. That's not necessarily something you need to do. You're just basically looking to underline if there's a question. Now I'm going to turn to green, and we are going to box the key phrases or keywords. All the group supplies will be carried by the hikers in backpacks. Important, key, I don't know. The leader decides that each hiker in the group will carry only carry a backpack that is a certain fraction of their body weight. So that I know is important because it has to be a certain fraction of their body weight. In fact, because it's on one line, I'll just do that, right? We'll do that, but still. So fraction of their body weight. So that means the heaviest biker will carry the heaviest load. Good for them. Okay, so now let's put a check here. Now we're going to eliminate any unnecessary information. I don't care that they took a 1-week trip. As I read this problem, I don't think that's going to pertain at all to this fraction of their body weight, right? It's just extraneous information, so I'm going to cross that off right now. Okay, and now evaluate the problem. So let's look at this thing. So in evaluating the problem, I think I am going to need to figure out how I'm moving from 150 to 15. And then, that looks like it, to see if that's consistent, and then to figure out how to go back. And then also I need to add up my weight of the hiker and the backpack for my total. So I know this is going to be H plus B to figure out the total. Okay, so now let's go ahead and solve the problem. So we talked in class about this term called a multiplicative relationship, right? That ratios represent a multiplicative relationship. So that means that there are two sides of this coin, whether you're multiplying on one side or dividing on the other. Those are the two operations you can use in multiplicative relationships. So I'm now trying to determine how I go from 150 pounds to 15 pounds because those are the two given numbers. And I don't know, right? So I'm just going to do a division problem. I know it's either multiplication or division. And I also remember fact families sort of showed me that if I can divide these two numbers to figure out what that missing part is. So I put that in my calculator, I do my mental math, and I now know that this is going to be 10. So that means I move from 150 to 15 by dividing by 10. Okay, and now I want to see if I can determine a pattern. So is that true for 107 divided by 10.7? And again, I can use mental math or my calculator. And yes, it is true. I also am dividing by 10. So now I'm working on this as my sort of the pattern that I'm going to be using, right? That this fraction, where is it? The certain fraction of the body weight, right, is a tenth. That the backpack is a tenth of the hiker's weight. So now with that, I'm going to continue. I'm going to divide this by 10. And I'm going to divide this by 10. And 125 divided by 10 is 12.5 pounds. 100 divided by 10 is 10 pounds. And now I'm flipping my coin over because I'm doing the opposite operation. I'm doing the inverse. So I'm multiplying now by 10. So 8 times 10 is 80. And 11 by 10 is 110. All right, and let's not forget our units. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so now I completed this part, the hiker weight and the backpack weight. Now I want to determine what the total weight is. So here I want to add my total together, 165. Right. I'm gonna pull out the calculator because it'd just be quicker. 107 plus 10.7. Oops, sorry there. I have 117.5. Right. 125 plus 12.5 would give me, nope, would give me 135.5 or 37.5, right? And I should be including my pounds here. And this is 110. This is 88. And this is 121 pounds. So later on, in fact, we didn't do it in this activity, but we'll do it now. We try to determine what is the relationship between the total weight to the backpack weight as a multiplicative relationship. We know that if we add these two together, right, we get 165 pounds. But then how can I figure out with multiplication or division to go backwards? And that's what we're going to do in our next activity, ratios, revisiting ratios, unit rates, and rates or something. Okay, so but right now we're going to move on to the next one. All right, so this was a different strategy. I wanted to introduce two different strategies on this, and one was a double number line, and then the other was just equivalent ratios, which many of you probably will choose to use more often. However, this is also a really handy tool. So I'm just going to put a few up here. I don't need to put all of them. I know 150 and 15, and I'm going to just use 110. Right, I already have my double number line labeled. I have my hikers on at the unit for the top line and backpack for the unit for the bottom line. And these sort of lines that are going through the double lines are just representing the sort of the different ratios that we are creating. So I need to find a unit rate. I want to determine that certain fraction, which the question wanted me to figure out. So I want to find what 1 pound for the backpack would be, or what would the weight of the hiker be for 1 pound of the backpack, right? My denominator is 1. So I could do a couple of things. I could look at this as a division problem, moving from hiker to backpack, and divide this way, right? And I get 100 divided by 10, and I get 10. And I'm noticing that this is consistent as I go along. Or I could see this going sort of vertically, or sorry, horizontally, and move this way. And know that how do I get from 10 to 1 with division? Well, any number divided by itself gives me 1. So 10 divided by 10 gives me 1. And whatever I do on the bottom of that ratio, I have to do on the top so that it is equivalent. And I have my unit rate of 10 pounds for 1 backpack. And the same is true here. It just removes some of those extra lines, right? I still have my 1 unit, which is so in my 1 pound for backpack. And I move with division. And we'll learn how to move with multiplication very, very soon in perhaps the next lesson. Okay, and now I am dividing 150 by 15, and I again get my unit rate of 10. So that certain fraction we're looking for is actually 1/10 of the hiker weight. And I say 1/10 of the hiker weight just because that's sort of our reference point. All right, talk to you soon.